Hello there everybody, my name is Bloomer Brown and welcome back once again to Ravenport for Farming Simulator 19, where this morning the combine is rolling bright and early once again because we are harvesting our first wheat field, which is going to be used to feed our chickens, which actually should be arriving sometime today. Now there is an issue with unloading this harvester, and that is the fact that I still have a trailer load of potatoes left over from yesterday's harvest. And I think once I get this field harvested, I will probably make my way over to the grain elevator to get that sold off so I can unload. So let's jump into one of those time lapses that are very much in vogue at the moment and get this field taken care of before we see what else we have to get up to today.
Weeble Wobble.
And job done. I'm not entirely sure if it was worth time-lapsing that or not. I should have probably just skipped to the end. But however, it is done now, or at least it is almost done. There's a tiny little bit left up in this corner here, and yeah, I'm probably being a bit pedantic about it, but hey, I might as well get this since it's going to be keeping our chickens alive for a while. Now, as I say, the trailer is still filled with potatoes. You can actually see it down there connected up to the Fiat, and we're going to have to get that emptied in order to tip out the contents of this harvester. But before that, we also need to get hold of a baler to get that field baled up, and I think what I'm going to do is hold on to the bales for now. Because I'm not entirely sure if the chickens need straw or not. I don't think it's a case that they actually do, and if they don't, I am going to sell it straight away, but obviously I don't want to be selling it and then having to buy it back just in case they do need it. So I think the baler we're going to go for is just the standard New Holland round baler. Let's have a look in here and see if we can find it. And yeah, in under baling technology, and yeah, this is the guy that I am looking for, the Roll Belt 150. It's just going to produce the standard round bales, and we're going to get them loaded up on a trailer. And as I say, I am going to hold on to them for a little while just to make sure that the chickens don't need them, but more than likely I will end up selling them off today. So I'm going to make my way down to the shop and get that picked up and start baling up that field. And the field is almost baled. There is a slight problem though, because I don't think we have enough to actually finish off another bale. There are a couple of little bits and pieces around that I'm going to swing around and see if I can get it filled up. But it's looking like I'm going to be returning a little bit close to a full bale along with this baler. It is the risk, of course, of leasing a baler, and you kind of accept the fact that you are going to end up losing a little bit by leasing it, but oh, it's so close to being a full bale. And I've been around and picked up the small bits, and I am actually looking to see if it can be unloaded. I'm guessing in real life you could unload a bale like that and override the sensors, but it's something we can't do in Farming Simulator. So it looks like we're going to end up sending that back with the baler, which is kind of disappointing. And I really think that's something that should be changed, especially when it gets over half a bale. I mean, that's a little bit of a loss. Let's actually take a look and see how many bales we managed to produce this time round. What are we looking at here? No, that's controls. Let me just find my statistics. And we got 5 out of it, almost 6. It's a little disappointing, as I said, that I have to return this bale. But I suppose that is the way it goes. I'm almost tempted to hold on to it to get the other field up there done, but it would mean kind of holding it overnight. I don't think that field is even going to be ready to harvest tomorrow. I think I'm just going to drop it there for now, just in case I do decide to hang on to it, and I'm going to move swiftly on to the next job for this morning, which is of course getting the potato field that we harvested yesterday planted out, because it is fully ploughed. So we're going to connect up to our planter here, which still has quite a bit of seed left in it, and also a lot of fertilizer. I'm going to make my way down to the field, and I think we're going to start sowing out some grass on that. The idea being that, yeah, while we don't have any animals at the moment, I can still get hold of a mower and convert that into either hay bales, or maybe even put up a bunker and start doing some silage to sell off, which will of course help bring in a little bit of extra money for the farm, because we do kind of need it at the moment. We're down as far as 19,000. So let's get this unfolded. I don't think I'm actually going to time lapse any of this this time. I think we've had enough of that for today, so I am just going to be cutting in and out as we make our way along, and making my way around, doing the usual wide turns on the headlands and trying to kind of guesstimate my way up and down the field. It does kind of make things look a little bit untidy, and I'm sure there's going to be these little tiny strips that I'm going to have to come over and cover up again. GPS is definitely something that is needed in the base game. I do actually think that Realism's Modding have a GPS mod out at the moment. They are of course the guys behind the ever popular Seasons mod, which I am going to be installing on this game as soon as it is available. I really love Seasons, and as I keep saying, I have been struggling with the base game's growth rate. And now I did hear as well that one of the developers of the Seasons mod was hired by Giants this time around as well, and was actually working on one of my favourite additions to FS19, the new and improved contracting system, which, it has to be said, is slightly more realistic than what we had in FS17, and I am really glad to see the improvement. The only quibble I do have with it is, of course, that we can only take on one contract at a time, although I'm sure that will be modded out at some point too. Or if it's the case that there is something I can alter in the save file, I may actually end up doing that, possibly leaving it at something like 2 contracts, because I do really feel that we should be able to take on more than one contract at a time, since we can hire workers and such in the game. Anyway, it is just a small quibble I have with the contracting system, and overall I am incredibly happy with the changes that have been made. It's really impacted gameplay quite a bit as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, I'm going to carry on planting out these fields and letting these thoughts rattle around in my head. And just this tiny little strip here to go. We're not exactly wide enough to cover it, so I'm going to have to just finish off that. But the field is, as far as I'm concerned, planted at this stage. And I think we're going to drop this back into the shed. We do still actually have about half of our seed left, and it doesn't actually use up all that much fertilizer either, so we have got plenty of solid fertilizer. Not something that I will end up having to buy again for a while, since we should have enough to sow out the other fields once we get them harvested. I also have to get those chickens sorted out at some point, but I think first off I'm going to get this up and parked away in a shed. The yard, once again, though I don't have all that much equipment, is starting to get a little bit cluttered once again. And it has to be said that it is making manoeuvring around just a little bit difficult. I also still have to take a look at trying to get these hills sorted out, because it is a struggle trying to get machinery up it. And third time is the charm. I'm going to drop that off there, and as I say, I do have to sort out that hill at some point. But first I think it is time to start addressing the mess that I have made around here. I think that I'm going to try and get the front loader on. There are a couple of those drums of fertilizer and weed killer knocking around, and of course I managed to bump into them. So let me just see if I can get the front loader attached, and I might get those moved. Just going to ease my way into it. Now it does actually look like we have a lot more fertilizer and herbicide than we actually do, but it's the case that most of them are empty. And let's actually just take a look at the markets and see what the best price for potatoes is. And it does seem to be down at the central grain elevator. So I think what I'm actually going to do, since the John Deere isn't up to much, is get the fent off this trailer and connect up to, or get the Fiat rather off this trailer. I'm getting confused between this and the Ballymoon map. I'm just going to try and squeeze this into a parking space over here somewhere. It might actually fit in there beside that header. Let's try and see if it does. Slow and steady does it, and I think we're back far enough. Let's just straighten up. It's a little bit tight, it has to be said, but hey, it works, and it's also saving a little bit of shed space. So I am going to need to unload that harvester, as I say, and get it put away, but for now what I'm going to do is use the John Deere to bring these potatoes down to the central grain elevator, I think, and get them sold off, and then we can get that harvester tidied away. I also have to deal with that baler. I think it's a case at this stage that I am just going to end up returning it. So potatoes are sold, and we did make a nice bit of money out of it. It wasn't a full trailer, but or at least I don't think it was a full trailer. I should really pay a little bit more attention while I am reviewing this footage. But on the way back, I can tell you that I did take the scenic way round, and it turns out that there are still a couple of fields that are withered, and I'm hoping that that sorts itself out at some stage. On my way back, I did stop off at the shop as well, and as you can see, I have picked up a brand new bale spike because I am anxious to get out to the field and get those bales rounded up. But first, if I can jump into the right vehicle, I am going to try and get this harvester unloaded. And I noticed that even though I went to all the trouble of trying to back in here, that the pipe is of course in the wrong position, and I'm going to have to line myself up a little bit better. So let's just switch back to that and get the cover off, and we can start unloading the grains and hopefully get that harvester tidied away. The other thing that I said I was going to do today was get hold of the chickens. And I think that there is probably no point in delaying that any longer, so I'm just going to let this trailer fill up, And then I'm going to pull down to the chicken pen and see what we can do about getting them sorted out. Now, once again, this is post-commentary, and this portion of the video was recorded a long time ago, and I can't actually remember how many I ended up buying. I think I started out with 3 of each, but as you'll see in a moment, once I purchased the rooster, which I got mostly, I think, because I wanted to make sure that everything worked correctly, but I'm not entirely sure if I am purchasing them, but I do seem to be doing it. Let me just see if I can have a look there. So we're buying it, and it's actually only costing us €1,000, which isn't actually too bad. And there we go, we have got chickens in the coop at last, and they actually look pretty pleased with themselves. And I can hear the rooster, but oh, there he is, he's right outside, busily picking up some food for himself there. Speaking of food, we'd better unload a little bit of wheat now that we have them. So let's jump back to the John Deere. And I'm going to slowly back the trailer in and start to unload, if it lets me. And there we go, we are filling them up with a little bit of wheat. They haven't taken a hell of a lot, it has to be said. Now the issue that we do have is we don't have a silo to store that, and I seem to have dropped my bale fork for some reason, and no doubt I am going to be struggling to pick that up. Not entirely sure what I'm trying to do there. I'm mostly leaving this in because it was the weirdest freak out I think I've had so far. So I'm going to leave the grain in the trailer for now. I'm actually going to just check on the chickens. So the only thing they actually need is food. We don't need to give them water or straw. So it's a case that I am probably going to end up selling that straw pretty soon. Now, as I say, we do not have a silo or anything like that to store this grain in, so it's a case that it's going to sit and occupy space in the trailer for a little while. I can, of course, bring it up to the railway grain elevator, or more likely what I'll do is clear a little space in the shed over here. Now, because we do have the chickens, they are also going to need to be tended, so thing that I'm going to have to get hold of is, of course, a bucket for that front loader to clean up their mess. But I think I'm going to put that off for now and sort of tidy up this yard and start collecting the bales from the field. So I have sold off the bales. I decided not to show myself rounding them up. It is just kind of a pretty standard affair, and there were only 5 of them. You see me there getting confused once again with manual attach and failing to drop the trailer. And at this stage of the evening, I think it is time to address the elephant in the room, or the cotton field in the corner, as the case may be. Now, I did want to plough this field under at the beginning of this playthrough, but I decided not to, mostly to check out the new harvesting equipment, since it is a new crop and a new machine. But if we jump in and take a look at the cotton harvester here, we can see that there is a little bit of a problem when it comes to actually leasing that, and that is, of course, that we don't have the funds. So it's something that I don't think is going to actually happen today. Now, I don't have plant withering turned on as it happens, so I am basically going to go looking for some money right now, and since I was setting myself up as a contracting company, it makes sense to go and find a contract. So let's actually take a look at what is on offer. So we do have Field 13. That is a fertilizing contract, and Field 11 is also a fertilizing contract, which is offering us a little bit more. Let's actually get a look at the size of that field. And yeah, it's not quite as big as the biggest field on the map, which is field number 8. So I do think we should actually have enough fertilizer in stock to be able to deal with that. I think what I'm going to do is get the Fiat back on row crop tires. Technically we don't actually need them when we are dealing with contract fields, but hey, it's a nice thing to kind of role play this sort of stuff. So I am going to pick up my fertilizer sprayer, get the row crop tires on and go down and get that field sprayed out, and hopefully earn ourselves enough money to lease the cotton harvester in the morning. But with the episode running a little bit long, I think that is going to be something I am going to do off camera. And with that, I am going to say thank you very much for tuning in. You have been watching Bloom Around on YouTube, and I will see you next time.